Look at the local dailies. Tunazungumzia nini? All right, matters education still getting prominence in the dailies as senior school learners continue reporting to school, but there's a problem, and the nation has noted this, that even as learners continue reporting, about 800,000 of them are still at home. How many were they in total? About 1.13 million. Yes. So only about 300,000 have reported to school. Remember, according to the ministry and the government policy, it is 100% transition. Yes. So what exactly is happening here? So Asema, this is the first grade 10 cohort in the competency-based education system introduced in 2017. Only about 300,000 of the over 1.1 million junior school graduates have reported to their respective senior schools since Monday, with a low turnout blamed on several factors, including cash constraints, which is true, and the last-minute quest to change institutions. So I don't know if the ministry now will be compelled to extend the period with which, in which learners can report, so that unajua kuna watu wengi with the new system of placement, there were a lot of complaints. Sijui watoto walipelekwa wapi, wengine wakapelekwa wapi, wengine akasema kila mtu asome kwao. So many parents have been up and down trying to talk to principals wageuze shule. Lakini the problem is that this time round there was very little human intervention. The placement was done through a computer-based algorithm, and it picked learners and placed them everywhere. So correcting that is really taking time. So some of the problems, school fees. Schools are demanding payment of fees in full, some for the entire year. Na una hiyo pesa. Matters transfers hiyo tumezungumzia. The wait for slots in schools where some students will not report. So wengine wanangojea tu waone kama kuna mtu hata report Alliance aende apate nafasi. Travel, learners traveling to far-flung areas still making arrangements, and needy students yet to secure bursaries and scholarships from state kitties. So these are some of the challenges that have made more than two-thirds of the senior school learners not to report to school yet. The other story, of course, the elections in Uganda, given prominence there. Hapa chini kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Daily Nation. Millions of voters casting their ballots today in Uganda's general election, with President Yoweri Museveni, who has been in power for nearly 4 decades, seeking a 7th term. His main challenger is former pop star Bobi Wine, but there are 6 other candidates who we are not talking much about. Wengine Mafabi na Muntu, au wengine huwajui. Pale juu Matangi alleges political witch hunt as property destroyed. That story is on page 10. It made a lot of discussion on online. Watu wengi wakizungumzia wakishangaa mbona wanamfanyia hivyo. You can read more on that. How Njonjo factor shaped law society. As a legal advisor to President Jomo Kenyatta, once prosecuted and imprisoned by the colonial state, Attorney General Charles Njonjo supported a bar and bench that retained their whiteness and British orientation. Remember, the Law Society is going for elections, kuchagua a new president. So Faith Odhiambo, we've had enough faith in faith. Now it's time to have faith in someone else. Amemaliza her term. So that's the Daily Nation. I'm trying to see what else is there on the inside pages.
Annual fee for senior school, as per the Ministry of Education, is 53,000.
So some schools are demanding the payment of the entire year.
Yes, but some are asking for more.
Yes.
53,000, according to this newspaper.
Yes. All right. So, nasikia kuna Ministry of Nakuru Slum School with no grade 10 learners and only Form 4s. Wow. All right. Natafuta story nyingine hapa. Leo ni kama kuna mambo mengi. ODM. Kwani tumesahau ODM? ODM tells rebels to leave as unity drive starts ahead of 2027. Wako huko page 8. By the way, hata kama hatuna news ingine, I think people are tired of talking about ODM.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hata kama ni wewe unaweza.
Watu wamechoka.
Yeah.
Back page, Matter Sports, new cross-country queen wants more conquest. And this, all hail the queen, World Athletics Cross-Country Championship senior women's winner, Agnes Ngetich. A picture there of her arriving at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport from Tallahassee, Florida, yesterday morning. Higher scoring AFCON and counting. Yesterday semi-finals zilichezwa, Nigeria wakabanduliwa. Sasa Morocco watafika finali. Nani mwingine alifika finali? Alifika finali. Alright. Kama hujakuwa ukifuatilia utajua mengi zaidi. Daily Nation.
The Standard, Turbulence at KQ, Mayday. The grounded fleet crippling the national carrier is not misfortune but brazen looting. Insiders confess that a ruthless syndicate within Kenya Airways is stripping parts from aircrafts on the tarmac, selling them back to the airline as new in a shameless cycle of theft. Can you imagine? As passengers suffer endless flight cancellations and farmers watch their products wilt because they can't export, the board's answer is a dubious 60 million shillings per month lease for old Boeing jets, a deal experts call financial suicide. With over 98 billion shillings of taxpayers' money already spent on bailouts, Kenyans are left asking, is this the final betrayal of the pride of Africa?
So walisema waliunda profit juzi, lakini ni kama tu walikuwa nasoma vitabu zao.
Tusikie wanasema nini. KQ former board director is saying the planes were leased to Oman Air at industry rates, while KQ continued paying the inflated price it negotiated when it leased the planes. Nothing the consultants did or recommended ever worked, and they took home billions. Of course, hawezi kubali. The acting CEO, Captain George Kamal, is saying even with a finely tuned network, some of the disruptions wrought by the pandemic persist. Chief among them is a global squeeze in the aviation supply chain. Aircraft sent for routine maintenance are taking longer to return to service, delayed by shortages of critical spare parts. KQ has not been spared. 60
million per month lease for old Boeing jets. So in a year, they're leasing at about how much? 60 by 12, 720 million. Wow. Almost a billion. Wanasema ni financial suicide.
That's the only story given prominence on the front page of the Standard. Ile story ya drought bado inaongelelewa. Red alert, hunger crisis looms as drought tightens grip on counties. In Mandera, malnutrition has reached critical levels with over 69,325 adults, children affected. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki said the government is prepared to respond to this situation.
This story is very interesting, this one. The story on page 3 of the Standard talks about police pliers that is costing taxpayers 1 million shillings. So apparently someone was arrested by police. Akapelekwa akakuwa tortured na wakatumia pliers kumtorture to force him to pay some 250,000 shilling loan. Alafu ikasemekana kumbe walikuwa na torture the wrong person. Now koti imesema serikali ilipe huyo jamaa milioni 1.
Very nice.
Your pliers walitumia vibaya.
Realignment fear looms as ODM deal inches closer. This story is on page 4. Implications of a UDA-ODM deal are far-reaching, with the pact being fast-tracked and President Ruto is dangling sweeteners at the opposition, a move that is rattling his party. Inside fees racket, principal use underhand tricks to fleece parents. That's another story on page 5. We've talked about it. Party Daily Nation. And on the back page, why Man City environment is perfect for Semenyo. He made an instant hit as Man City closed the League Cup final, and Pep Guardiola's men swept aside Newcastle in the first leg on Tuesday. Interestingly, the Standard has no mention of AFCON anywhere today. This is very interesting. But yes, yesterday I think Senegal beat Egypt. Alafu Morocco wakachapa Nigeria. So for the finals, we have Senegal versus Morocco. Who are you supporting for the finals? That's a very interesting one. Who
Morocco.
Are you supporting?
Senegal. Morocco, they're enjoying too much. Wako home. Everything is just going their way. Me, I'm going with the underdogs. Senegal.
Morocco. We'll be back. Tutarudi after AFCON. Inisha kesho?
It's a Standard.
18th, Saturday.
Yes. Ni kilio na hasara, serikali yaendelea na ubomozi kwa makazi ulioanza Makongeni, Maruguini na hatimaye biashara ya gavana. So kuna picha kadhaa hapa mbele. Hapa ni ubomozi unaoendelea kule Makongeni na Maruguini, lakini hapa kuna ile ubomozi ambao ulitekelezwa katika mali ya gavana wa Kiambu Kimani wa Matangi. Kuna magari pale ya kifahari yaliyoharibiwa katika ubomozi huo wa nyumba katika barabara ya Douglas Kihuri hapo jana. So mpango wa serikali wa kutekeleza miradi ya mabilioni ya pesa umesababisha kilio, hasara na mahangaiko kwa walala hai na walala hoi kutokana na uharibifu wa mali unaotokea kupitia ubomozi wa makazi. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Wanasema ubomozi huu kwa mali ya Wamatangi na kule kwingine Makongeni ni kutafuta nafasi ya miradi ya serikali kama affordable housing, ile extension ya railway, kuwe na mahali railway inapita watu wanasimama wakienda Nyayo Stadium kutoka kule Talanta Stadium. So ndio wanabomoa
2027.
Ndio wanabomoa mali hii yote usiku.
Emphasis on usiku.
Usiku. Vidokezo zaidi, vigogo siasani wapima hewa kabla waamue. Magavana wa muhula wa kwanza wachukua misimamo ya tahadhari kuhusu waunge nani mkono siasani. Kama ule wa Murang'a amesema bado alisema watu ndo watamwambia. Kwingineko, Nasir ataka uwanja upanuliwe, ataka uwanja wa ndege wa Moi kule Mombasa kufanyiwa upanuzi zaidi. Masuala ya Uganda pia yamepewa nafasi kidogo pale chini. Uganda waelekea debeni leo. Pale juu wanafunzi 800,000 wakosa kuripoti grade 10. Na kwenye spoti Semenyo wafunga City ikinusa finali. Gazeti la Taifa Leo.
All right. The Star, big ripple of MCAs and top county staff vanish with car and house loans. Assemblies, executive arms fail to recover facilities advanced to officials. Now, this is interesting. I was looking at it before we came there, that the revelations lay bare deep structural flaws in the 2 multi-billion shilling scheme, coming at a time when public confidence in devolved governance appears to have nosedived. It says that millions of shillings advanced to MCAs and other top county officials, including governors, as car loans and mortgages, may never be recovered.
Ulipatia watu pesa wakanua manyumba na magari na uwezi rudisha hiyo pesa.
Imeenda.
Imeenda.
Yeah, imeenda. Who did he offend? Car wash torn down. Destruction. Kiambu Governor Kimani Watangi at his car and carpet cleaning business near Nyayo Stadium that was demolished on Tuesday. Unasema kwa nini wanamfanyia hivyo?
Mbona wadi alikasirisha na alikula mbuzi ya nani ndio wanauliza.
Anyway, Ispike questions Safaricom shares pricing, claims country getting raw deal. That's another story on page 8. How counties will share 420 billion shillings proposed by Treasury. It's another story on page 9. Kule juu, 4 decades on, President Museveni seeks to extend his rule as Uganda votes. At least the Star pia wamezungumzia Uganda kidogo. And families spend sleepless nights over missing men serving in Russian army. That's the Star, fresh, independent and different.
On the People Daily, they continue with their reporting on politics for 2027. And on this one, they talk about the possible second in command, a deputy contender, the race to be Ruto's running mate. So who will be Kenya's president in waiting come 2027? But this is a very huge assumption. Okay, fine, because now they are considering who will be the running mate for President William Ruto, meaning that if President William Ruto succeeds, then that automatically becomes a deputy president. Will he go with his current deputy, Kithure Kindiki, as a running mate? Will he go for the PM-CS? Will he go for the CS for mining, Ali Hassan Joho, Gladys Wanga, the ODM chairperson, Mwangi Kiunjuri, Oburu Oginga, Dr. Anne Waiguru, George Kariuki? All these are just some of those that people have suggested would make a possible running mate for President William Ruto. That story on page 4. Elsewhere, youth at crossroads. Can Gen Z turn up protests into political power? Tulikuwa na hiyo discussion hapa asubuhi. Yes. Mtu alisema Gen Z ni moto ya makaratasi. Mimi sikubaliani naye, lakini kuna mtu alisema hivyo. People Daily.
Mobile money agents' cash transfers dropped by 430 billion shillings, and the value of cash handled by mobile money agents, including those linked to banks and telecommunication firms, fell by a record 430.3 billion shillings in the first 11 months of last year, signaling a shift in payment channels, heightened tax scrutiny and tighter liquidity environment. That's a story on page 2. It's a very interesting story. CBK data shows record fall in cash handled last year and digital payments shift, reducing the need for agent transactions. Value of farmer imports down 22% on shift to cheaper products. That's another story on page 2. Governor Matangi property demolished there. On the ticker, Italian wine bottle caps maker to buy Kenyan company. Oh, wow. US startup seeks to rival Starlink in Kenya, and dividend yields fall to single digits on share price rally at NSE.
All right, so these are the business-related headlines on the Business Daily. Once again, we remind you of our panel. Wilson Sosion, Dr. Peter Mbai, Kathy Rungu, and Fwamba NC Fwamba. In a few minutes' time, they will be in studio. As we take a look at the big discussions today, of course, Uganda decides, as well as the students reporting for senior school